Listening. So, good evening in the United States. It's morning time in Korea. I have Guijuan, Jose, and Semin on the call with me today. So, my name is Mario Garcia, and I'll be the host for today's conversation. We're going to be talking about scalability and AI, and we've got a special guest today, Guijuan Moon from Omnis Labs. I'm going to give Guijuan a chance to introduce his company. Before we jump on there, I just want to say hi to Jose. We're one ocean one oceans apart. How's everything in Boston tonight, Jose?
Very windy. It's been so windy the last 2 days. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on. We lost the horrors of COVID-19. We lost Wi-Fi for like 30 minutes today. Like,
Really?
that's really bad. No, but
That'll be interesting. I
good.
wanna ask questions about that. How exactly does a virus bring down Wi-Fi networks? Um,
Yeah. Well, I think this was the wind that actually affected some of the power. It affected power and it affected cable. I
okay,
think
so
that's what ended
it's
up
just
happening. It
add,
was a
add adding
physical failure.
adding just nature is just adding more curveballs at us, right?
Hmm.
Um, all right. Guijuan, thank you for joining the call. Guijuan is the CEO of Deep Block from Omnis Labs. Uh, Guijuan, can you give us a really quick introduction about yourself personally?
Personally, I was a
Yes.
software engineer for about several years before, and I graduated with computer science major. Yeah, my entire background of my 20s was just like a kind of everyday programming and coding and studying, yeah, that kind of stuff. It's kind of my personal background, and I quit my job around 2 years ago uh, because I was thinking that after I learn and I'm kind of conducting a research on AI, I figured out that learning or kind of designing AI is quite difficult, but however, using it is not that difficult actually. But every people are learning start from kind of mathematics and to kind of complicated computer science theory and mathematics. Uh, it's very difficult, but I mean, uh, all of people, I mean, many people don't have to learn much about that software engineering or programming or kind of mathematics to design an AI. I mean, they all of them who need to use AI don't have to design AI. I mean, they don't have to be. All of them don't have to be engineering Google or kind of researchers in laboratories. I mean, some people or some engineers don't have to know much about AI or kind of implementing AI to use it. So I want to prove it by implementing our platform Deep Block, so that we can prove that using an AI is not that difficult for people who want to use it. So we created a drag and drop interface for public. I mean, someone who don't have less background in AI or kind of software engineering mathematics. We create a simple drag and drop interface with one-click prediction, one-click inference, and yeah, many features for usability are integrated in our platform. Anyway,
Okay,
that
great.
is
So
kind of my kind of brief history to start our service.
great. So I'd really like to get a little bit more into, some of the features and the possibilities that you see in helping people to deploy these AI systems. Um, what you mentioned was also really interesting. You actually already had a job, about 2 years ago, and you decided to quit your job. So
Mhm.
Semin and Hassan are here on the call with us, and something that they've been doing over the last, 1 to 2 years now is helping us to go around, talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and see really what's happening. And I think that there used to be this perception that the people who were starting companies in Korea were starting them because they couldn't find a job. But I wanted to ask Semin and Hassan, from their perspective, how common is it that they've seen now people who actually have a job, as a software engineer working for like a medium to large company who actually quit their jobs to go and start new companies? Sam and Hesson, have you seen any changes in that regards lately?
Well, I think rather than just switching or quitting jobs, I think the main topic that's starting to change is having side gigs to start that process, you know? So I don't think that people just start their own startup because they couldn't find a job. I don't think that works in that way. It's more like there's different career options to pursue now. So I think people are now discovering that it doesn't have to be, oh, after I graduate, I need to go get a job here. It's more like I have different career options I can choose from. And depending on what I want to do and depending on what path I want to take. Plus, if you go get a job now, because of the working hours that are limited by law, people are now able to do more side gigs to discover what can they do outside their jobs. So rather than just pursuing, oh, I have to take this job career, I can pursue this job career at the same time. I can try something new so I can change or develop my own startup. What about you, Hassan? What did you see?
So yeah, I saw a lot of people, especially like who studied humanity or design, of course, and all of the parts. They really thought they have to learn coding or programming to get a job. Um, but and there's a lot of great free software like Code Academy to learn coding freely, but it was not that easy. I found it actually. I was one of the people who tried to learn how to code, but it was not every time. It was not so easy to get a job. So a lot of friends of mine who took the course or went to who had a double major to become a software engineer, but some could get a job as a backend. Very little people, few people could get a job as a backend engineer, and some as a front end.
So I think that this is one of the two things that you guys have mentioned that have really been taking off in Korea that we'll revisit these things later in this call, which is Korea has a new law that actually limits working hours, and I think that it's an interesting year where the South Korean rolled out that law, where
And what's the limit?
and the sec
And what's the
52,
limitation?
52 hours a week.
52. Okay, so
cannot
you,
work more than 52 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's
It
the law.
started with a government institution and large conglomerates, and then it's working its way down to small businesses as well.
so the U.S. it's 40 is the standard work week, right? And then in jobs that pay you a regular salary or an hourly salary, anything above 40 hours, you have to get paid extra, like time and a half. In France, it's 35 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And now in Finland, Sweden, some of the Nordic and Scandinavian countries, they're thinking of doing 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But 30 hours is regular time, but then you can still do overtime.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
this law is, I think 40 hours is regular time, right, Semin?
Yeah, 40 hours, and then
It is like maximum you can work.
yeah,
So you're not
including
allowed to put in more than 52 hours a week at your job, and at that time you have to go home.
Mm-hmm.
so
It,
including
it's
overtime.
it's a hard limit, and it's pretty actively enforced, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Semin, do you know
Right.
if there are any exceptions by industry?
Yeah, there were some exceptions in banking. That one I knew for sure, but I think it's going to roll out this year. There are certain industries where time you can't limit like actual time, but I think from over 300 employees, every business over 300 employees, I think mostly are bound by this law. Plus, if you work more than 52 hours, it actually goes up into the director level. So VP level, you have to sign off that employee is working over 52 hours. So it's become pretty serious. But yeah.
Good. That's a good direction.
Yep, it's a pretty interesting direction. So, Guihwan, so let's get back to your case, right? So, you had a full-time job. Now, you didn't mention what was the full-time job that you were working before. You did say briefly you were a software engineer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you building AI systems at that time?
Yeah. when I was undergraduate student, I left my school for a while and I had a kind of software engineering position at Memory Games, which is the largest mobile game development company in South Korea, and I developed a kind of AI system for a baseball game, mobile baseball game. So it's closed for servicing now. However, I developed a service and it is launched, and some people in South Korea played that one. Yeah, I
About
developed
how
the
many people do
entire
you think played the game that you had designed?
maybe around several several. I mean, around more than 10,000. I mean, but I think it is around less than 200,000.
Okay.
Mhm.
Something.
So
Okay.
something.
let's
Somewhere
say
in the
about 100,000 people played that game.
100,000. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, yeah, that is
Um,
possible because it's ranked as a kind of ninth most popular game in kind of Korean mobile game platform. Yeah,
it was the
Mhm.
ninth most popular game.
yeah.
Okay. And then what was it at that time? Can you tell us what was the you mentioned that Deep Block is supposed to be a platform that will make AI easier to use for people.
Yeah,
However, Deep Block is not AI for gaming.
yeah.
What were the markets that you were thinking about could really benefit from AI?
Mm, as I mentioned before, I mean, mm, our platform can be very useful for research industry, especially for scientists or kind of researchers in kind of science or kind of clinical, yeah, laboratories or somewhere else, because uh, they indeed have some background in software engineering or computer science, like they know basic knowledge. They have very basic knowledge about coding or kind of something like that one to implement a basic system for them. But however, AI is quite difficult, even if in the point of view of software engineer or computer science student, undergraduate student, because we have to take care of too much things if we want to integrate the AI technology to our service or to our software. For example, managing infrastructure or kind of handling resources of a machine like a GPU server or something else is very hard to manage, even though they know how to use deep learning framework. Yeah, these are another challenge or kind of managing that infrastructure effectively is another issue. Yeah, there's a
Right.
lot of difference between scalability or kind of managing infrastructure is very hard for non-computer science major researchers or yeah. Okay, that's my
Now tell
opinion.
me why would a why you mentioned that this would be for research and science, something like clinical laboratory. So if I'm a research scientist in a clinical laboratory, can you tell me what would be the new experiments or the new information or the new results that I would get now that AI is available? So why would a research scientist in a clinical lab want to use AI systems?
As I may, I mean, we previously uploaded a kind of demo video for white blood cell detection with our service before. It is just counting a white blood cell from the cell culture. I mean, it is kind of from the sample retrieved from patients or someone else. Yeah, this is basically used for kind of clinical kind of analysis for patient status, like whether they have an infection or not, by through counting a kind of a white blood cell. But this is done by manually from human. But what if AI can help the process? They can clinical kind of laboratories can reduce the cost of counting the cell from the sample they retrieved, and also they can reduce time and cost is a major benefit they can get if they use kind of automated system with computer vision, with AI vision. And one more thing is that if in this situation of like in coronavirus pandemic we are suffering now, we have shortage of our person, even though it does not take not much money to hire someone who can count the cell, white blood cell from sample. uh, uh, we are kind of suffering a kind of shortage of persons in medical industry. So maybe AI can help the kind of doctors or kind of clinical laboratory practitioners to reduce their work. I mean, there's too much work to do for them now. But however, if they use AI, if they can apply AI technology to their kind of job, maybe we can kind of we can help them to do their work, and we can have more power to fight with the virus. This is just my opinion too.
Yeah,
Anyway.
so,
Right, no,
so
and I
let me
think
let me ask a question then. Let's say I am a researcher, and you mentioned the white blood cell example. Mario and I actually visit a facility here north of Boston that has a lot of biotech startups, and one of them does tissue culture, and they actually do regeneration of organ tissue. So let's say I want to know how fast my my cells are reproducing. So am I assuming then that I could potentially have, a system like what you have developed, take a look at a particular cell that I'm trying to count, and have the system be able to look at, the different images that I'm taking every few minutes, every few hours, and give me a count of those specific cells? Is that an example that would be feasible?
It's possible, yeah, but for now we have to implement a feature for real-time inference or real-time kind of detection. But however, this is technically this is possible, and we will try to implement that one. And I mean, I think it can be useful for another way. I mean, not only that kind of research, another research which need a kind of which need to see a kind of improvement or kind of changing in time series. If we can support a kind of real-time inference with object detection technology, I mean, we can see a kind of increasing of a kind of cell, or kind of increasing of or changing of a kind of structure of some material, or kind of
Okay.
something in microscopy change. If something in microscopy changes, we can say we can collect it, or we can kind of create a statistical data from that one to for research, or to get a conclusion for our research. Yeah, it will be
And so
also a helpful tool for research in the if we can offer a real-time inference feature.
Okay, so let me take it from the microscopic scale to the telescopic scale. And let's say I am a climate scientist, and I am trying to figure out how much ice coverage is in a particular area. And that's probably reasonably easy to identify, because it's going to be white or bluish instead of brown and gray. So would I then be able to say, take several satellite images, each one was taken about a day away, or whatever the orbit, the period of the orbit, and be able to have the system automatically kind of give me a count of, square kilometers, or whatever the amount of increase or decrease in ice sheet, for example? Is that another application?
Yeah, it's also possible. For first, I think we have to create a kind of a segment. We have to segment the area for that one, and then we have to apply a kind of equation to calculate the kind of detailed area of the field we want to calculate, and then we can get an actual area of the field that we want to detect. And then but I'm not sure it will be correct, exactly correct at the first point. I mean, we have to try, and we have to get some error, and we have to feed the feedback, feed the data to correct the equation, and then afterward we can be,
Mm-hmm.
it can, it will work, but
Okay.
not 100%, but it will be, we can get a kind of reliable result we want to get. Yeah.
So I have two more examples that I can, so just thinking about the difference, because we're thinking about image analysis. Forest fire detection is a big thing here in the United States, especially in California.
Mhm.
Is that another potential application to detect kind of hotspots, by either satellite or airliner data?
Yeah, I think it's also possible, but but in this aspect, it should be very fast. I mean, time to detect. I mean, inference time will be a critical issue for satellite imagery or kind of software which you want to kind of prevent, or which you want to alert some people who are in charge of the managing the or control the situation, need to know it quickly, as much as fast as they can. So the software should be fast. Yeah.
Okay, and so now from microscopic scale to telescopic, and let me get to human scale. Let's say I am an event organizer, concerts, conferences, and I want to be able to count the number of people in an event, and I have a few photographs that tell me, that show me the auditorium. Would I be able to possibly count people in a space?
Yeah, of course. It's just possible, and we are already implement the feature, but however, not yet deployed. Yeah, we can also calculate. But however, detecting person, it has a kind of some problem actually, because humans are basically have some basic feature, like they have hands or kind of they have a leg, but however there's a difference in their face and
Yeah,
something.
it's not a perfect count, but sometimes this is and even I'm actually, and then that makes me think of, say, for example, police, and when there's large events and police provide estimates of crowd size, and or even the organizer wants to say, hey, 200,000 people attended this event, and it's like, yeah, right, yeah, how do you do that? Most of the time it has to do with a certain sample area where you estimate how many people in that area, you extrapolate that to the overall area. But if you actually had like a snapshot of let's say the entire park or concert hall or whatever it is, and you could actually get something it's not perfect, of course, that's not the idea. We don't need to get to
tech.
we don't need to get preciseness down to the person, but more of a plus or minus 5 to 10% is probably more than reasonable.
It's just possible. Yeah.
Interesting.
One thing that I think is interesting that Guihan mentioned, because in some cases the examples that you were using, Jose, was about counting, right? Whether you're counting cells,
just counting.
But when we were talking about the cell counts of the example that you said, where you wanted to know how many cells have doubled, Guihan said something very interesting, that it's not just counting that you can do, right?
Yeah,
but you can actually look at other features.
Yeah, some inference, right? You infer a change potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's say, looking at the one that I remember was the white blood cells and the platelet count, because I've seen that video before. So you can count the white blood cells, you can count the platelets, but there are other conventional systems that do cell counting, for example. But the difference with those conventional systems is that they only tell you the number of cells, but they don't tell you, for example, the size or the morphology.
Yeah. It
So
would
the
be
morphology of a cell, it's like the shape. How does the cell membrane look? Does it, is it a big platelet? Is it a small platelet? Does it look like a little bit dry and shriveled? Or does it look, we were working with another biotech company, and they were saying that when you look at them on the microphone, they look bright, microscope. When you look at them on the microscope, you know that they're healthy when they are bright and shiny, right? The way that light, for example, from a light microscope shines through the cell membrane, will look differently. So there's more than just the counts, but the actual, let's say, like the health of these cells, or their basic characteristics can also be done. So I think for that other example, that last example that you made, Jose, of the crowd, sure, you want to count the crowd. Um, and then, Guijuan, how far away are we, not just from being able to count the number of people in the crowd, but also being able to tell, are they having fun? Which could
It's
be
also possible.
something
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
for like sponsors, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also flow. Where are people moving? Right? Is there's an event? I give you an example. Here in Boston, we have this festival in Rhode Island, and they have an issue where sometimes they get too many people to show up. It's really nice. They have it almost looks like Venice. They have these fires lit up in the canals of Providence, and they have gondolas. And the one problem they've had is too many people show up. And so the local organizers have tried to figure out how could we figure out a way so that the flow is a little better, and where are the bottlenecks, where do people get stuck. And one time they tried to do like, okay, everybody has to walk the same way, and people hated it because it felt like you were just on a parade walking instead of being able to, oh, look at this, look at that, walk over here, walk over there. So that is a situation where now you're trying to identify patterns and possibly roadblocks that are causing a problem with the flow. I guess that's an application. It's almost it's almost like having cells moving in certain areas of tissue, and now you're actually looking at people moving in a certain environment. It's no different really.
Yeah, not to mention bathrooms in events. I think that's a major issue.
Yeah, that's a big, and it's valuable. It's very valuable, and especially valuable. I would think for life and safety. If you know there's a Isn't?
I'm sorry. Talking about life and safety, so I think like the reporters, the journalists, they always need the number of when demonstration kind of thing happens inside the city. That's really that would be very useful and helpful to protect the citizens' normal life and the demonstration. Its purpose.
I think what Hassan is working on, a lot of these crowds, they are sometimes used politically. Like people, like 200,000 showed up or 20,000 showed up. That's like a big political thing. I think having like an objective measurement of that will just resolve a lot of those issues at some point. I think Hassan was mentioning something around that.
Hey, Guijuan, you had actually mentioned to me before that you've done work. You've done one project with closed caption cameras, closed circuit CCTVs, closed circuit surveillance for security. And you also had another project looking at traffic with images from low-flying aircraft, right? Can you tell us a little bit about how AI fits into those systems? Because I think those systems are what we're talking about right now when we bring things to the human scale.
Yeah, our service is specialized for high resolution imagery, and which includes aerial imaging and satellite imagery. And it is even very hard for earth science researchers because it is not just a kind of normal picture. It's very high, high in volume. I mean, the size is very high, and it's technically very hard to manipulate. And even applying AI to the to the imaging is even very hard because the modern object detection model just rescale the image into a small one, and that means the object a user or kind of researchers wants to detect becomes also small if they rescale the image into a kind of normal small sized imagery. So we solve this problem by kind of create a tire. I mean, split the images, and the tech is very difficult anyway. To complicate it, I can just say that our service is specialized for high resolution imagery, and which is very hard to manipulate with AI if a user have less background knowledge in software engineering or computer science. So we offer a kind of a specialized technology for them, and we can process the imagery more than 500 megabytes and even more than 1 gigabyte. Anyway, what we are trying to serve is that we want to detect a lane from area imagery. Yeah, it is very, they want to use it for, I mean, our customer want to use it for uh, navigation system, software navigation system. But however, and so in this aspect, they want to detect the entire lane from the area imagery, and they want to create a kind of actual map for navigation system, not not related. I mean, they can collect, they can integrate two feature from geospatial information and also a kind of imagery information from area imagery, so that they can create a detailed navigation system with lane. I mean, detecting where which lane the car is driving, and so they want to create a database for entire lane in South Korea. But however, there's too much lane in South Korea because it's very hard. The country is not that large, but however, there's a lot of road in South Korea, and they want to automate the process by using AI to detect the entire lane from aerial imagery. And they asked us whether we can do it. So we said that it is possible, but we require some effort. But anyway, we're trying to solve the problem. Yeah. It's a kind of a brief history story. Yeah, what we are doing.
Well, and I saw the great couple demos that you put on LinkedIn that showed the combination of one image with another image, right? So the example I saw was you had a photograph and of a landscape or something, and then you wanted to make it to look like a Van Gogh painting, right? Or you have a portrait, a photograph, and you want it to look like a Picasso style painting. And besides from the fun applications and also the graphic design applications, which certainly will be very interesting. What other applications do you see for that type of kind of merging of image analysis in other business applications that you've thought of or that you speculate might be useful?
We implemented a model for with ProGAN, Pro Generative Adversarial Network. Yeah, it is a technical word anyway, which can generate a kind of picture from in the context of the pictures it is trained. Like for example, if the model is trained with several thousand of cat images, then the model can create an artificial cat. I think you saw it before from YouTube or somewhere else. But
yes, yeah.
Anyway, it is a kind of it can be used for artificially created picture, and it can be used for it is very dangerous. It can be used for crime, or we can later analyze the model, and we can create a kind of detecting. It is what Facebook actually does is to find a kind of fake picture. Is a kind of their major kind of research topic, to detect kind of fake picture from the data they get. And
I could see an application even in the world of design, and especially graphic design, and very useful because, so for example, companies very often try to have a certain look right? Their graphics have a certain color scheme.
Hmm.
The backgrounds that they use have to have a certain, the corporate colors.
Hmm.
They use certain fonts, and the people spend a lot of money on this, to get that kind of, kind of this consistent look. And I could see a tool like this being a great help to an architect, a graphic designer, an industrial designer, to give them ideas,
Hmm.
to say, well, okay, so what if I try to match this font? What if I try to match this color scheme? And that way I don't have to like generate it myself. I can have it auto generated and then see whether it's, okay, that gives me some ideas,
Yeah. Cool.
and
I've
I think
never thought
maybe,
about that one.
yeah. So Hirsun, you studied industrial design. What do you think?
Yeah, nice. I've never thought about that idea before. Yeah, but it would be very interesting. Yeah, and maybe somewhat useful for someone who lacks idea or who want to get some inspiration from the AI. Yeah, the AI can also
I,
benefit from for them.
I think in terms of like branding of one company, so actually our company, Lighthouse, we also have our own color scheme and our own like image style, and it's not always easy to keep up doing repeating those things and then improving those images, because uh, and actually in design persistency, it's really important to have like the people have some expectancy of some brand. It's really important, so I think it was very helpful for the companies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
There's applications everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow. Like here's another. I'll throw you another example. Then I'll shut up. If I talk too much, I get too many ideas about this great technology. Hollywood. When you're shooting a movie, there's a team that's in charge of continuity. Their job is only to make sure that whenever I shoot a scene, and if I come back and shoot the next day, that everything is the same way, right? The furniture is in the same place, the hair is in the same way, so that you can still shoot the next day and it doesn't look like wait a minute, some this is not the same scene, and sometimes there are mistakes. And there's been reports of, let's say, a bottle of Coke or a bottle of water in a Game of Thrones episode, or a Starbucks cup. And you could actually, that could be an application in Hollywood for the continuity people to be able to take a shot, come back the next day, and then analyze both shots without having to manually, just kind of like make sure, was this in
Yeah.
the right place? Is this the same color? Is this the same light? As opposed to have the system tell you, oops, this is not the same, this is different, and we're talking multi-million dollar industry, a billion-dollar industry that dedicates manual effort to organizing things and make sure they match. So in this case, you're trying to match something just like, let's say, a designer would want to match a look, right? But that's a more kind of amorphous concept, but still the idea of matching a color scheme and things like that. And this is actually matching exactly something to something else.
Mhm. It's also possible, but we're a little bit more challenging. Yeah, because we have to consider too much things. Yeah, but however, it's also possible, I think.
Mhm.
In the future, it will be really possible to create that kind of software.
I mean, I think that those kind of ideas are interesting because right now we're going through a lot of changes in the economy.
Mm.
And with these changes, there's a lot of people who have been left out of work.
Mhm.
And this is bringing an opportunity and a challenge as well to developing and deploying these new type of AI systems. The opportunity lies in the fact that, well, now that companies have actually cut down their workforce, if and when they are ready to restart their work, they have the opportunity to choose who they hire, how they hire them, and what kind of systems or tasks would they rather have computers do. So that's definitely the opportunity. The challenge, of course, is that as you are deploying those systems, from a social perspective, you might have a lot of criticism and a lot of pushback to trying to deploy new technologies when we have an era of mass unemployment, as we are seeing right now in the United States, to a lesser extent in Europe and Asia as well. uh, Guijuan, when you talk to the companies that are deploying AI systems, do you ever encounter yourself in a position where you have to discuss with your client company or with a potential organization that you want to work with? Have you ever had to deal with this issue of this tension between artificial intelligence and employment?
I because our kind of normal customers are in software industry, so or something in high technologies, they are not that concerning about that one actually. But however, I'm thinking uh, that it's not only a threat. I mean, it can be a threat for kind of unemployment problem, but however, it can also be a solution for in this situation. I mean, like I mentioned, maybe AI can help discover a medicine or kind of find a cure or kind of automate uh, diagnosis to so that we can save more lives and we can recover faster if we can use AI for to fight with the virus. And then uh, as fast as we can recover, I think we can have more chance to well, we can it will be more faster. We can solve the unemployment problem. So I think that if we can if AI can help, or if we use AI correctly in this situation, will not only be a threat, or will not only be a kind of our counterpart or enemy in this situation. Yeah, we have to use it carefully, but I think it will be a nice tool for fighting this kind of health and economical crisis. Yeah, that is, or yeah, my opinion. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, I cannot hear you.
Yep.
Uh,
There we go. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Um, Jose, so you're actually the one in the United States right now, where I think that at this time they are going through the largest increase in unemployment. Um, what could we say of the decade? Definitely. Um, of the century, probably. History, maybe even, right? What have you seen in regarding this discussion about the tension between AI and employment? So automation is supposed to be taking over jobs. Do you see that this has factored into the discussion at all in the last few weeks?
No, because I think the concern has been more with the fact that there are so many jobs that cannot be taken over by machines. That's actually the conversation. The let's call it the essential workers are your uh, you know food service, your medical, your construction, what we consider, let's call it basic services, but they're basic in that they are the base of the economy. Those are very difficult to substitute with AI. Like, for example, how are you going to substitute a construction worker, right? That being said, however, I have been attending some many webinars, as we all are, where AI is used to monitor construction sites during construction and when in the evening when nobody's working. And that way you're able to document construction progress. And you did not take any jobs away from any of the construction. Well, maybe you actually, the person who might have gone through the job site at the end of the day to document progress instead sent a robot. And the robot not only monitors what happened and documents it in video or photographs, it actually can tell the differences from day to day. So as far as, let's say, impacting the construction workers, no, but it improves their work because it allows them to be more efficient the next day because, oh, this wasn't completed or this was missing. And it actually improves the quality and productivity of construction workers, as an example. And then there's a lot of discussion about autonomous driving. And really the consensus is that we're a ways away from that, from have fully autonomous driving. But even that, the idea of autonomous driving as replacing people, replacing drivers, is also framed in the context of, well, how many other opportunities does it open instead? So for example, the idea that you're going to have trucks driving by themselves, it's possible. However, what are you going to need to have those trucks driving by themselves? You need to create a whole new market of people that will address that new technology, the new services that go around this. So I think that there's a give and take, but yeah, I would say that this, like I said at the beginning, the discussion really is more about not AI replacing people as much as AI either supplementing, augmenting, or improving what certain segments are doing.
And surely with in the current environment, one of the areas where people are facing a lot of shortages is in healthcare, right? Managing hospitals, managing clinical systems. And I think that in healthcare and in dealing with the current crisis, it's an all of the above apply, because it's not just about delivering care inside of the hospital, which you sure can, right? You need to be running blood tests, you need to be running analysis. But as you were talking about, you can monitor the work site. And I'm pretty sure hospital administrators right now are probably having quite a bit of a challenge setting up schedules, right? Making sure that all of the administration for the hospital is being done on time. Take it to a larger level, and the logistics of how you transport goods from one place to the next. Luckily, we're in a position where traffic flows are not that big of a problem unless there's a protest blocking traffic, but those are not too widespread at this point. But certainly moving things around throughout the supply chain for healthcare is very challenging these days. So Guijuan, we're out of time now, so I'd like for you to have the last word and tell us what's the future of Deep Block? Where do you see yourself in the next 6 months, 12 months, and 5 years?
I cannot predict the future, but I can say that I just hope that our service can be a kind of useful tool for general public who want to access AI, because AI technology already too complicated and too difficult to use for many people. But however, if we can offer a kind of, we can enhance our usability, maybe many people can benefit from artificial intelligence to automate their work and enhance their work productivity. It's my kind of long-term goal. And in short time, maybe we want to, I mean, as I mentioned before, we can implement a kind of real-time inference model. We can offer real-time inference with streaming API or something else to support to see the change by time, like whether something is increasing, number of something is increasing, or something is changing, or maybe it will be a one year or 6 month core. Yeah. And in short time we can finalize implementing our kind of pseudo labeling. I mean, we are now automate the annotation process, kind of semi-automatic annotation process for users, so that users don't have to label entire data set for model training, so that we can reduce their time to labeling or annotating their data, and we can reduce their cost. I mean, we can enhance their efficiency. Yeah, that is our short-term plan, our technical plan. Yeah. Okay.
And what about from the point of view of the market? Are you going to continue to focus on research laboratories, or do you plan to
Yeah,
extend to other markets as
but
well?
we're not only support research laboratories. I mean, we can collaborate with self-driving car software development company, and also someone who want to learn AI, or someone who want to use AI but have a difficulty finding a kind of a nice environment to learn or using AI can also benefit from our platform, because our platform is for free. Yeah, we offer a 1 month free trial, and so users can use a free GPU cloud and also our service to kind of use AI to create a project they want to create, kind of do it yourself concept playground. So yeah, anyone who want to use AI, who want to learn AI but have less background, can yeah, usefully use our platform. Yeah, that is my idea.
Okay, great. So for them to be able to find your platform, can you share with us the URL?
Okay. How can I share the URL? Through chatting?
Just say it out loud so that anybody who listens to the video can find your
Okay.
website.
EEEP, deep. It's a kind of deep, and block. Yeah, it's not a blockchain. It's just more like a kind of plain block. Like it's very easy. Block, BLOCK, and dot, and then network means, I mean, neural network means an NET. Yeah, that is our URL.
Okay, so you heard it. It's deepblock.net. All right, so that's all the time that we have for today. Guihan, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank
Jose
you.
Semen Hassan, it's a pleasure as always. And we'll be back again next week with more insights and more discussion. We'll be sending out some follow-up emails and links to Guihan's website, as well as to some of the blog posts and other information that we mentioned during the call. All right. Thank you all very much. Jose, have a good evening in Boston. Everybody else, have a good day in South Korea. And I'll see you next week.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
great. See you
Yeah,
soon.
bye.